It's
Opinion
time, everybody!
Hey folks, I'm Raven. When I played the Marvel Rivals alpha test, I loved Loki. In fact, I mained him. I used him to climb in ranked, and I had a lot of fun with him. But as most overpowered things do, he did need tuning. So when I heard he was going to be nerfed for the beta test, I wasn't surprised or that worried. I mean, sure he was overpowered, but they couldn't possibly ruin him with it, right? Unfortunately, in the beta, I found this character that I'd come to love over the alpha had became a bit of a turret. And not like this kind of turret.
Oh, nice. Oh my god. It gets better and better. Yeah, I didn't even notice you.
Or this kind of turret.
10.
Instead, he felt more like this type of turret. So what is it that makes Loki feel so unsatisfying now? To clarify, before we get too deep into the video, I'm not calling Loki weak. I would place him on the weaker end of the character roster, but I don't know if I'd actively call him an underpowered champion. It's just he's missing some oomph now. His kit, on paper, is phenomenal. He has an amazing escape potential, a lot of outplay. He wants me! Give up. And an ultimate that is pretty cool. I mean, getting to rip an ultimate from another character is always a fun ability in any game. I'm gonna kill her first. My goes off first. My team killed her, so I ended up wasting it, but that's fine. We won! It was zoning. It was a zoning ultimate. But to get to the root of why I feel he became so unsatisfying in the beta, let's take a look at the patch notes. In the beta, the devs chose to move Loki's power away from himself and into his clones. So as a short summary of what his clones do, for those that aren't aware, effectively Loki can have 2 clones up at once. They can sort of put down an invincibility / damage to healing aura around themselves, and he can also teleport to them at will. More importantly though, they will fire at Loki's crosshair, meaning if you're shooting at an enemy, they're going to shoot at an enemy. If you're shooting at an ally to heal them, they'll shoot at an ally to heal them. I didn't even mean to kill that person. Potentially increasing Loki's healing and damage output significantly. The issue with this as a mechanic in practice is, whilst in a vacuum, that seems phenomenal. In a game like Marvel Rivals, where you have the Spider-Mans, the Venoms, the Scarlet Witches, mobility is everywhere. So when you have a slow firing projectile moving from 3 different directions, hitting its target at 3 different times, you'll rarely hit them more than once or twice. And that's assuming you've set your clones up, they haven't been killed, and they all have line of sight. This is a problem because by moving Loki's power from himself to his clones, he effectively turns into a turret where for optimal damage output or healing, you need to have your clones and yourself set up in a way where all 3 of you share one line of sight and all 3 of you can shoot at the same target with roughly the same hit time. Which, in my opinion, does the opposite of what the devs intended, which was to increase Loki's skill expression. But Raven, Loki's an off support. His job isn't to heal or do massive amounts of damage exclusively, but that plays into the issue. In most of my games, the Loki is never the top person in terms of healing, but he also doesn't do significant enough damage to have impact in that role either. This means Loki is left in a weird place where he doesn't support as well as a Mantis or a Lady Frozone, but he doesn't kill as well as any of the DPS, or even some of the other supports. I personally feel like characters like even Jeff, who is probably on the slightly weaker end of the supports, still do better damage and healing than Loki. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Do not mess with... Oh my god, your little piss bubble. Get out of it, you're such a piss baby. Leaving a reasonably high skill character without sufficient reward for putting in the effort of learning that high skill. It's an issue that has happened in games like Overwatch with, say, Genji. When Genji is a weaker character, why would you put in triple the amount of hours to learn him than, say, a soldier, when at the end of the day, you're just doing the same job of killing? And it's the same thing with Loki right now. Why would you put more effort into learning a significantly more difficult character than, say, Mantis, when Mantis characters can output way more healing than him. And why would you put effort into learning a support that can also do damage on the side when characters like Adam Warlock do a surprising amount of damage far easier? This leads to Loki feeling like you aren't rewarded for the effort put in, and even if you do put in the effort, you still feel like you're underperforming compared to where you would be if you were just to play any other support. And you know what? I feel like I have a pretty simple fix for Loki. It isn't increasing his healing or his damage numbers, because doing either of those would just push him back into the position he was in the alpha, where he was too strong. I believe the problem with Loki is the slow projectile movement speed. Right now, if you have your clones set further back so they don't get killed, by the time the shots land at where you fired them, the target's already gone. If you put them up at the front with you, then they will be targeted and destroyed, leaving Loki by himself without the ability to get extra damage and utility from his clones, which he desperately needs now his utility and such is spread out across them. Increasing the projectile movement speed, however, would allow you to more creatively position your clones, whilst also having more reliable damage and healing output, since your shots would land more often. This, in my head at least, means Loki would have better healing and damage output without directly increasing the numbers, allowing for the skill expression the devs originally intended, whilst returning him to a position of reasonable strength. So that's my vague ramblings about Loki and where I think his power should lie and how to fix it. You might disagree. That's fine. You can have that opinion. Yell at me in the comments about it. You get to rant about your feelings, I get to get more comments, we both win. So, that being said, thank you for watching, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next time.
Bananas are fantastic.